sometimes things happen and you just have to deal with it. You have to make the best out of what it is. But if it's in my hands to choose who I want to have a child with, then I have to look at that properly. I have to weigh up all these things.
You've only got sex once and baby's on the way. Now you're automatically going to be a father. And there is no plan that prepares you for starting a family.
Welcome to Dad's Divulge. Welcome to another episode, guys. Today's topic: is there ever a right time to start a family? Stu, take it away, my bro.
Right. What's going on, guys? Yeah, this week's episode, an interesting one for us, really. So, one of the things that come up all the time is, you're with your partner, long-term girlfriend, wife, and the question of kids comes up. And for some men, it's something they want to run away from. Some men run towards it. This episode is going to be about, is there a right time? Is there a right amount of money, right time? When is the right time? A couple of years into the relationship? After 10 years? Do you always just have to be, does the ratio have to always be perfect and then you can have kids? If I throw some of my thoughts into it, I don't think there's ever a right time. Once you've actually gone through the process of your missus being pregnant, you're getting excited for the birth happening, you're holding a whole new human, which is all you, probably looking like you as well. Mm. There's nothing that can prepare you for that moment. There's nothing you've learned prior to that moment which prepares you for that. You could be the most organized person. Yeah, you could be the most organized person. Well, this human now, you're to their timescale now, so you can be as organized as you like. You got to sing to their tune. 100%. So yeah, it takes some doing. But yeah, let's talk about this.
Well, my thoughts on this is there is a right time, I feel, but it's not what many people might think it will be. For me, the right time is the right time. And for you, you see what I'm saying? That's the most important thing for you.
Yeah.
Not for your mum who keeps nagging you, telling you, oh, when you're going to have children. Not for your friends that have kids and maybe you haven't found someone to have kids with yet. Yeah. It's for you, innit? The right time is the right time for you. It doesn't matter how old you are. Obviously, for women, it's different because they've got a body clock and they need to have kids by a certain stage. But for men, I would say it's better to have your first kid at 40 than have your first kid at 25 with the wrong person. You see what I'm saying? And that's
absolutely.
And that kind of leads me to my second point where I feel like the right time, I know it might sound cliche and a bit cheesy, but the right time is when you find the right person as well. You see what I'm saying? Because that hands down is going to be the biggest factor. You see what I'm saying? Like the money, the house, all of that are secondary for me because that can be worked on. That can be worked towards. And most people find when they actually do have a child, that spurs them on to do things that they didn't even think they could do because they're in this position now. And that, as you said, like you can be the most organized person, all of this, most dedicated person to what you're doing. But when you actually hold that child in your arms, you feel like, okay,
different feeling.
This is real.
Different feeling.
This is real. And personally, my kids have changed my life. Like when I've had my first one, I think it was 22, 23, like I was being naughty. You know what I'm saying? I was being naughty. Yeah. I wasn't really particularly doing much. And when I had my first one, that spurred me on to change things. You know what I'm saying? Where before I might have thought I wasn't ready or whatever, and I was apprehensive about having a child and whatnot, that really spurred me on to, to make changes in my life, to push forward on things that I just been thinking about. You know what I'm saying? Because I had no choice now in my head.
Absolutely. It does something to you. It brings ideas which weren't there, gives you a bit more fear, but then that's replaced with more hope that something else is going to go right for you. And
100%.
yeah, I think the motivation definitely for me, I had my first child. It was weird for me because I think a lot of people had children, a lot of close friends like yourself and others had children before me. So there was this feeling of, I do want to not just jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, but you do want to enjoy what I was viewing you guys going through. And then you get into it for yourself and you're thinking, well, they did this 10 years prior. This is what they were doing this 10 years ago. This is tough. this is a lot. This is a lot to deal with, and yeah, you do think, when you get that great news, all emotions and ideas start going through your head. Is going to be a boy or a girl, and I'm going to be this type of dad. And again, money. You start thinking about money. You start thinking about how am I going to pay for stuff, space in your house, how you're going to juggle things. How you're going to still be able to do a job and commute and all these type of things. But when that child's there, then you can start formulating your life plan. I think you've got a life plan and a path up until that point. And now this has now been thrown into the mix, and now you've got to change your plan. You can adapt your plan or change your plan, but some things definitely will change for sure. For
100%. 100%. Because before that child comes, you're just out here, innit? You're just doing what you do for yourself. You wake up each day. You just think about yourself. You know what I'm saying? And you might not be, you're not necessarily a selfish person, but it just is what it is. You just have to fend for yourself, and that's it. When that person comes into the world now, most things you do are based around this child. What I need to put in place for this child. How am I going to create for this child? What, just simple, like, I need to buy nappies for this child. I need to provide many things for this child, for someone else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And for me, for most people, I feel it turns them into a better person. You know what I'm saying? Or brings out a better side of that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a warmer side. I would say it's a warmer, nurturing side. And if I'm honest, I think some men are afraid to walk towards that. It is a nice feeling having a child. And I think there's too much of this kind of macho, I'm going to be this type of dad, maybe mimicking what your dad might have been, your own dad might have been. Because as we know, as generations change, the job role is still the same, but the roles we play can be very different. So, I think it's good to kind of get into the emotion side of it as well, definitely, because it's a new life. It's part of you. That's your blood, flesh and blood, and you're responsible for it. You're responsible for that boy or girl. They're going to need you for everything up until a certain point, forever. So it's those when you do think about those things, I think that can scare a few people. I think it's like you said, they're selfish up until that point. So
it can, but like with most things that are worth anything, it's scary to think about before you actually do it. Once you're in it, it's like, this wasn't so bad, Most things are built up in our heads, innit? You know what I'm saying? Most things are not so bad once you start them, once you try them. You know what I'm saying? And having a child is one of those things. Like, for me, in the early days especially, it's not so much the child. It's, as I said before, you have to think about who you're having that child with. You know what I'm saying? Because the person that you're having that child with has the power to make or break your life. You know what I'm saying? They really do, man.
Yeah.
They really do. Like, they say you can't choose your family. You can definitely choose who you have a baby with. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong. Accidents happen, For me,
things fall apart.
Yeah, things fall apart. You know what I'm saying? Things don't always work. But I guess you can only do what is in your control, innit? And if you set about it the right way and say, okay, I'm going to purposely look for someone who is right for me, not just me, but for my child, innit, at the end of the day. Because if all else pops down, as we know they do in relationships, then you can say, okay, cool, I'm calm. I've got someone there that will take care of my child, that will do right by my child, no matter what's going on between us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
It's about picking your partner wisely. I suppose they say pick your partner wisely, but anything can happen.
Anything can happen. you know, women naturally and men change when a baby comes. And, you know, you can't account for that. But as I said, you can only do what's in your control. You see what I'm saying? If you're seeing a woman and, you know, you like this woman because she looks a certain way, or she cooks a certain way, or she does both, you know, and you just like her because she's feisty and whatever, that's all good. That's fine. That's fine. But when it comes to starting a family, you have to kind of assess that and say, has this girl got, or this woman got what I want and what my child would need? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You got to look at those qualities. But and it's interesting because when you're seeking a partner, it's all based on look first, isn't it? So it's going to be based on attraction. So, and I feel that because, you know, probably asking yourself these questions in the beginning, that's where sometimes people can probably pick the wrong partner, or maybe not see some of these things which may not be there when that time comes. You know, I think I'm quite lucky enough. Me and my wife have been together a very long time now. So it felt, when we were about to start having a family, it felt like the right time. Yeah, it absolutely felt like the right time. It felt like we'd lived together and we'd been married a few years, and we thought, yeah, this is the right time to kind of venture into that new path. You know, it's like a new stage. You know, it's like when you move out for the first time. First holiday is a stage. You know, staying over is a stage. Moving in together is a stage. Marriage, move first house, that type of stuff. They're all stages, and a child is just another one of those stages. But just a new person in the house, really.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm lucky in a sense as well, where I've been with my missus since I was 17, and we had our first at 23, something like that. And, you know, I didn't, at that time, I can't say I thought too much about all these factors, you know, when it comes to having a child. It's only in hindsight, when I look back on it, I feel like, you know, for anyone that's having a child now or is thinking about having a child, there are things to consider. But as I said, for me, I'm lucky as to where I've got with someone young and they just happen to be the right person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we worked. Not that there wasn't shit in between that. You know what I'm saying? Not that there wasn't a lot of testing times in between that. But, you know, I think there's a difference between someone who you can work with and someone who's just there and you just don't work at all. You know what I'm saying? No matter what you try, you don't work. You're just wrong.
Clashes. A lot of clashes and not a lot of give and take. And that's the thing, the whole give and take thing. Yeah, you should not go into it thinking it should be a 50-50 split. There could be times where that scale is uneven and it doesn't feel fair, you know. But
it's supposed to balance out in the end, isn't it? It's supposed to balance out in the end, not day to day. Like, oh, I did this, so on paper you should be doing that, and it doesn't
that's
work
not
like
real.
that.
That's not real. That's not really real. It's interesting because I had a close friend. His missus always said to me that I was way too picky, but some of these things were things that I was looking for when I was looking for a partner. And it doesn't matter that I was only, I think my missus at 18. We got together when we was 19. And I thought I just had those things in my mind at the time, you know.
Oh, well, I think
it's one of those things. I don't know. Everyone's different, but I definitely know, and I think it's from having friends who were older than me at the time who had kids and were in relationships. I suppose I was looking up to that and thought, I kind of like what they have. And you can't mimic it. I think that's where sometimes people go wrong as well. You kind of mimic what you think is the thing, but living in it and seeing it is two different things.
100%. I think back to what you said about being picky, I think you need to be. Like, this is your life we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? This is not like what I'm having for dinner or what I'm ordering at a restaurant. Like, this is your life we're talking about. Like, I think too many people are blasé about who they're having babies with. You know what I'm saying? Like, when this one decision could have, change your
vast
whole
impact.
life. Yeah, vast impact. And it's like, people put more time and research into where they're going on holiday. You know what I'm saying? People be looking at reviews. doing all this, like people put time into things that, let's be honest, don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
for me, having a child with someone, if I can, because as I said, mistakes happen, things happen, innit? Not all the time you're going to be able to direct your life how you want it to go. Sometimes things happen and you just have to deal with it. You have to make the best out of what it is. But if it's in my hands to choose who I want to have a child with, then I have to look at that properly. I have to weigh up all these things. You know what I'm saying? Because as I said, man, there's a lot of men out here that are depressed, that are going through a whole load of shit. And what's the reason? Oh, the child of my mother's doing this. She's not letting me see the child. She's not letting me do that. She's not. And we're not perfect. Yes, we do some stuff. But at the same time, if you saw these things in that woman earlier on, that was the time to say, you know what, this might be a sign.
Yeah, this might not be for me. Sign. I wonder what it is that makes people ignore that kind of alarm bell.
Well, with men, we know what we think within it. You know what I'm saying? Let's be honest. That's what's going through our mind first. You know what I'm saying? As they say, man. So we will look at things in a certain way, but we have to get more sensible, man. We have to. There's no harm in having fun in it. For me, it's like every girl you're with or you sleep, it doesn't have to be the mother of your child. If that's if you're in a position where you want a child but you just haven't found the right one, obviously you have to be in the game to find someone in it at the end of the day. But absolutely. When you feel like you found the one, do you really ask yourself, why is this girl the one? Not because she looks bad, or not because she can cook some jollof and some jerk chicken. No, not because of that. Why is she the one? Why is she the one for me to take that next jump, or to take it to the next level?
Outside of the superficial.
Outside of what you can see. You know what I'm saying?
Outside of that, and that's what that's not even a thing anymore. I feel like in this day and age, it's not about the deeper side of someone and what they're going to be like, their personality, that type of thing. It's more about, this girl is fire, this girl is something else. And when you look at that, you now propel that to like number one or number two priority. But down there somewhere lurking is the fact she's an absolute nutcase, or she's the way she speaks to you is not great, or actually she can't even save any money, or she hasn't even got a job. Those are all these things do come into it, but for some reason, it's all about the superficial. And then, unfortunately, you want to control the time anyway, definitely.
And to be like, for me, I speak to people that invest in stocks and stuff like that, and they say they never, or for the most part, they never choose stocks that they can't hold for the long term. You know what I'm saying? Or they don't see a long-term vision for it. And I don't understand why this isn't applied for two relationships. I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that, there's no harm in having fun. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, don't let certain things blind you. Yeah. Don't think that when the baby comes, she'll turn serious. It doesn't happen like that. You know what I'm saying? If you're seeing certain signs from now that this girl's not serious, then you need to reevaluate. You need to reevaluate.
Yeah. Control it, definitely. And
if you see that this girl doesn't want to work, has no interest in making her own money. She has no, she's, as you said, she might be crazy. That's all nice when it's, when you don't, when you're dating. When you're dating, it's all fun. You know what I'm saying? But when the baby actually comes, when someone else is involved in it, it turns very toxic. You know what I'm saying? It turns very toxic. So, as I said, I'm lucky as to where I found someone from young. But I do see a lot of people nowadays falling into traps and getting with women for the wrong reason. Do you know what I'm saying? People make, as men, we're very much about our finances, and we've a lot of the time we look into the best way to save our money, what to do with it, whatever. A lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us do that. But why isn't that translated into when I'm gonna
lifetime partners. Yeah,
lifetime partners.
yeah. It's just that same thought. It's just not there. And everyone's got their way of doing things as well. It's just a bit stranger. Like you said, you put so much emphasis into trying to do well at work and saving your money and all this type of stuff. But in terms of picking your partner, happy to kind of let this, just like I said, superficial stuff get in the way, and you just leave it anyhow. And I think as well, so we've spoken about like people who are picking for like superficial reasons, but even when you are in a committed relationship, the prospect of a child coming along is the dynamic of the relationship changes. The way I always speak about it is about whenever you go into like certain like milestones in a relationship, I always say that the relationship resets. That's how I kind of articulate it. And I think the first reset is like when you move in. So when you're meeting up on weekends and stuff, you're always putting your best foot forward. You're getting a haircut, and she's doing herself up, and you're going to cinema, you're going out for a weekend, whatever. I think the first reset of a relationship is when you are now in the same space. You're sharing your space. So you share the kitchen, share bedroom, living room, all your traits that you can kind of hide and bury away at home. They're now there in full view. So if you're a messy person, it's in full view. If you're OCD with tidying up, it's in full view. If you're sleeping late and there's stuff to be doing the next day, you haven't prioritized it, it's in full view. You know what I mean? And I think the big reset, I think, is when you have children, definitely, because
it is
straight after the child, your missus is tired, it's emotional, it's life-changing. You don't know what you're doing. And it's, you can have all the input from, parents who did it 30 years prior, or, brothers, sisters, friends who've done it more recently, and, oh, don't do that, that's old. And you need to know how to do it for yourself. And that's where, when we come back to the whole, is there a right time? You've got to be honest with yourself and say, what kind of person am I? You're saying you want this and that in a partner, and, you want to have a child. What kind of person are you first? I think there needs to be more looking into who we are individually, just to work out what's the right path for us. I think that, we spend a bit more time thinking about those things, because then that would help. That would help you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree, man. And that's where this idea of make sure that you're having a child for yourself and for your partner, make sure that's your decision. Don't have a child because you may think, oh, my mum's been pressuring me, I think it's that time. Or society has told you by 30, you should at least have a child. Or this, it's not that. It's really not that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for me, I had my first at 23. That's young, relatively young. And at the time, I'm sure there were people saying, oh, you're too young, whatever. But at the end of the day, that turned out to be the right time for me. You know what I'm saying? I've had another 3 children in, let's say, 10 years. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not in the ideal position. This is where we go back to, is there ever a right time? I'm not in the ideal position. Like, at the end of the day, my kids don't want for anything. You know what I'm saying? My kids don't want for anything. And there's nothing but love in this household. And it works for us at this time. Some people wait a bit too long. I think there's always a better time, but there's no right time. There's no perfect time.
Right time.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can always have more money. You can always have a bigger house. You can always have, you know what I'm saying?
Always. But your kids need to be, like we talked about previously, you need to be present, and these things get sacrificed, don't they?
Exactly.
They get sacrificed. No, it's interesting because for me, so like your dynamic is like you started young, and then you've gone on to have more. And I was saying in this day and age, a lot of people would say that 4 children would be just on paper. 4 children seems like the most very, very crazy, difficult thing to do.
Let's not beat around the bush. It's an absolute madness. It's an absolute madness.
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush. But I wouldn't change it for the world. And that's my reality. When certain people ask me, oh, how do you do it? You just do it. You know what I'm saying? You just do it, because you're not going to have a child. Even if I have 10 children, I'm not going to have them out here and just be like, I just can't do this. I need to return them back to the shop. I can't do it. They're here, innit? So that's why
you've got to fight.
When people are scared out there, it's good to have a plan, but having children, it doesn't always go to plan the way you want it to go to. You know what I'm saying? Like having all these things in place, and this is at this time, this is going to be that, and I've got this planned out for them, and I've got their whole future planned out. It doesn't go like that. It's good, man. It's good because having children forces you into places that you feel like you couldn't even go.
Yeah.
Like you feel like I couldn't. Like you would say, I can't do that. Once your child is at risk, or once your child needs it, that's it. I'm there. You know what I'm saying?
We'll do it. Yeah.
I'm saying you put off your child next in a burning fire. If my child's in a burning fire, I'm not going to say, I don't want to get burnt. I don't want to. I'm throwing myself in there. That's my child. You know what I'm saying?
Straight in. No, it's true, because that's the bit I was going to touch on, because for me, so I first child 28. And we had our second child very quickly after. So there's 15 months between the two kids. And I would say, if the first one wasn't a wake-up call to say, okay, right, I can see clearly. It's almost that kind of clarity you get, right?
Yeah, of course.
To know that when my missus told me that she was pregnant again, I'm there thinking, well, my child's only, 6-7 months? This doesn't make no sense. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You just about got used to holding the baby right, putting him down. You get in the little routine going on. You think you're the man because you can put the baby down and there's no crying no more. You think you've got it locked down, right? Okay, well, now there's another one on the way. And, we found it fairly late as well. So that was just a mind-blowing moment for me. And that for me was the true essence of there is no plan that prepares you for starting a family. Because had someone asked me, okay, what, you're going to go back to back then? I'd say, well, no. Let me just get used to one first. That's often what you hear people. It's often what you hear people say. When they've got one, and you speak to them and say, when are you going to go again? And I've got to be mindful of not saying that to people all the time, because you don't know what's going on with people. But that I feel like when people say, "Oh, you're going to go again," I'm like, truth is, we have, and there's one on the way soon. It's like, they're like, "Are you sure?" So when the baby come now, we're just like, it was a bit mad. It's some of the midwife.
Because you got nurses. You got two under 2, innit?
So one's just Sav turned 3 in November, and Rowan just turned 2.
Yeah.
So it's just, but at one point, it was that, and it's just one of those things that you just can't prepare for it. You can't prepare for it.
You can't. Definitely. Like, I remember when it's mad, because before I had my fourth, a couple of weeks before I had my fourth one, I was at work speaking to my colleague, and I was like, listen, I'm done, bro. he made some joke about having more kids. I was like, bro, that's not even funny. I'm done. Like, I'm completely done. I've had enough. I'm done with it. I'm over it. I want my life back. I want my life back now. Whatever. I even said it to my missus, like, I'm done with this now. Like, that whole idea I was entertaining of a fourth, it's over. Bro, 2 weeks later.
Mad.
I'm pregnant. And I swear, no word of a lie, I started laughing because I was like, when they say you either laugh or you cry, that was how it was. Like, I was like, nah, you're playing a joke on me.
Yeah. Like, it's nuts, it is.
At that moment, and the same year, see, I can't even keep up, bro. I know the same year something else was happening. No, that was on my third. My third. I was about to say the third. Yeah, my third one came, and the same year I was getting married. So that was another thingy. But when the fourth come, it was like,
you must have been laughing to yourself. Like,
I'm not going to be able to do it. I can't. It's beyond me. I can't do. I physically can't have any more. But when he comes, you just deal with it. Like, you just deal with it, bro, because there's no other way. I'm saying you can't
send it back.
Put him back in and say, go back to where you come from. Do you know what I'm saying? So
no, and that's what I mean. It pushes you. It does push you. Because I remember the third one. I was on the way back from work, and he told me I was in Paddington at the time, and I remember I stopped rushing to get home. But I remember I stopped in the middle of that tube station. I was like, what, this year? This year? Bro, when you said that, I was just like, look, this is serious. And I said, you're a very serious guy. I remember. But you make it happen, man. And that just come and go, and now it's almost like clockwork. And that's the thing. When you look back at it, when you look back at old pictures, you do question to yourself, well, wow, how did we do that then? How do we do it? But you do it. Like you said, you just do it. Pictures are the best reminder.
Yeah.
Videos, just little things like toys you see, the way things, you might have hid stuff in the cupboard or in the loft, you pick it back out again. You're like, well, wow, do you remember when we had this? And it all falls into place, and you start to realize, you know what? Yeah, more money could be better for you, but it doesn't help you with the actual act of looking after a child, being emotionally there for your wife, girlfriend, and the child. That no money helps you do that. If anything, money's probably more a distraction to try and get you out of the house, if anything, and that often happens with some men. So,
100%. I mean, my thing is, I've still got that idea. Like, if you have enough money, like if I had unlimited amount of money, different sort of money, I'd probably have 10 kids. Because
carry it on, yeah.
Because I love being around my kids, innit? They're the people that, no matter what, they're your biggest fans. They ain't got no judgment of you. Obviously not now. When they're older and turn into little shits, then they'll have something to say, I'm sure. You know what I'm saying? But right now, they don't have no judgment of you. You're the man. You know what I'm saying? So I love being around them. And if it was up to me, and money wasn't a thing, I would have more. But it's the thing, it's the time. I've said to you before, it's the everyday stuff. It's not the spending time, it's the everyday stuff that gets to you. It's you trying to cook and two of them are screaming, two of them are fighting. It's you trying to do certain things. And if I could pay for a cleaner and a cook and someone to take them to school, what else is there for me? You know what I'm saying? Someone to wash the clothes. What else is there for me to do? And I didn't have to worry about work. What else is there for me to do but to hang about and play with my kids? You know what I'm saying?
That's it. That's it.
But to raise them. So it's not the kids themselves. It's everything else. It's the running of the household that affects, for me anyway, that affects me not wanting any more kids. And I say that now, and I really have to touch wood.
I'm doing it now
many times. I don't want no more kids. I'm just putting that out there into the atmosphere,
into the air.
But if it comes, I know I'll be all right, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'll get through. You know what I'm saying? Because I've done it all this time. And after my first one was excitement, I remember. And everyone after that filled me with anxiety because it was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And after each one, it's been all right. You know what I'm saying? It's been fabulous.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To be honest. So, yeah, man. But you know what?
That's true.
Another thing I want to say to you, which is quite important, is that a lot of people feel like, you say it's the next stage, isn't it? You moving in, then having children. A lot of people feel like if your relationship is in a bad way, or, you're not quite tight enough, then maybe a baby will pull you together. And I want to say to anyone that's thinking that like that right now, please get that out of your head. Because if anything, the baby puts more pressure on your relationship than anything else. Anything else. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. Yeah. Like once everyone stopped coming around and you stop getting the messages saying congratulations, then you're by yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's you two.
Yeah.
And some people are lucky and have got mums that come around and live with them, and they can, but for the majority of people, it's you two. That's your responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
And it's true, because I can understand the thought process behind it. You see the joy when you go to see other people, and you see the kind of closeness it brings everyone. You kind of even see the love. But that's what works for them. Like you said right at the beginning, you need to do it for your reasons, or your reasons together as a couple. And it's interesting. On the other side of what you're saying, you also shouldn't look at other people's situation and think, can't do that. I'm not having two kids.
Yeah.
Because they're struggling. They might be struggling for other reasons. They might be struggling because they actually haven't worked out their flow yet. Because their kids change. Kids change so much. You've got to keep up with the way your child changes, because they're only doing something. The way I say it to my sister is, they only do this new thing for 5 minutes. and you're happy about it. You take photos of the first walk, and then, you know, everything's all gravy. Oh, they're walking. Then now they're running. So now you need to step yourself up a bit and check the house properly, because you're calling out for them. They're upstairs somewhere. You're thinking, when did they do? They've only just started crawling. So they only do things for 5 minutes, and it's important to sometimes look beyond what's right in front of you and look beyond that. You know, sometimes you do want to look what's in front of you. And you do get a bit scared. You do think, ooh, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that. We look behind there. The kids grow up. You change. You know, things start getting more easier. Money comes. Things get easier. Yeah.
Certain things start getting easier. Certain things start getting harder. Like, I've got one of my cousins who has a teenager, and he's going through different stuff that, you know, I'm sure it's going to come to me, but I'm just thinking, how am I going to deal with that? When that happens, you know, when my kids are not sweet little children, innocent children anymore, when they're big and they've got their own opinions and they talk back, that's when I'm going to have to evolve as a father. I'm going to have to become a different father now. So I can deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's people. My thing is that, you know, as I said, people look at children, and sometimes, you know, even in my household, like, you might come round and you will see a snap. So say someone who hasn't got kids actually might come round, see a snapshot of how we live and say, oh, like, the kids are happy, they're funny kids, like, this is all great. You see what I'm saying? This is all great. This whole situation is just great. But what they have to realize is this is a snapshot. Like, the day-to-day of this is
manic,
filled with joy. Of course it is. But a lot of it is manic. A lot of it is. So if you're at a stage where you're not in a strong relationship, but you feel like having a child is going to make that relationship stronger, it's like more time. It can happen. Don't get it twisted. But more time it won't, because the day-to-day, that's what everything is built off of, the day-to-day, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just the when we rock up at a wedding or christening and we're all looking good and, oh, that's a nice family. Like, it's not just that. It's the day-to-day, you know, doing everything, plus working on yourself, plus working with your missus, like, as a couple.
And that bit gets, like you said, that bit is the bit that gets, like, lost. Working on yourself and working as a couple, you don't have time. So, like you said, if you think that it's going to help build the
magically change something,
better, it won't. I'd probably suggest to anyone to probably put more time into what you both want with each other than to think that this is now going to miraculously change anything. I think women, don't want to generalize, but I feel women do get a different type of pressure than the men.
Yeah, they do.
I think the women get a different type of pressure because they can see it happening. They can see it happening with other sisters or close friends, and they think, I want some of that. You know, I want to have a baby of my own. They're so sweet, they're so kind, and all the rest of it. But you have to shut the door, give the child back, and you realize, again, like I said, snapshot of what it is.
What's going on?
It's a different pressure, man.
And everyone has to experience it for themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? But you know, as we go back to, there's no right time, but there is always a better time. You know what I'm saying? And that better time for you could literally be just work on your relationship first. Work on, what you've got already before you feel like the baby's going to be the thing to be the icing on the cake. Because there's many situations where baby comes, this is what you've wanted forever. Man realizes this shit is real. I can't handle this. I'm off.
Yeah, this is not for me. I'm gone. And yeah.
Bro, I'm not gonna act like, you know, I'm perfect. There's been many a times where I've questioned, is this for me? Like, is this, like, when you're having those days, you're just having those days. Like, is this for me? Like, in general, I love my kids and I wouldn't change anything for the world. But when you're in that zone and you're having one of those days, it is like you're looking to the sky thinking, nah, this has to be just me going through this right.
Yeah,
there's no one else dealing with this right now. You know what I'm saying?
And that's it. And I think it's interesting, like you said, about things happening in different stages. Because I remember when I've had a wobbly moment before, I definitely remember speaking to you about it, and I was like, what's going on here? what is this? You know, it doesn't make sense in my brain. And I think one thing I've definitely learned is that, you know, I think you touched on it earlier. You can be as structured as you like. I'm someone who's quite structured, and I'm sometimes a bit of a dinosaur in my thinking sometimes, but learning to get there. But I remember definitely thinking, I've got to speak to him just to find out, did he go through this? Is this exactly the same thing? And you're like, this happens. You speak to another person, you speak to your dad, my dad's like, I told you this before. It's just like, it's a thing that happens, clearly. I didn't know. But you can't use your logic. And I think I was saying this to my wife yesterday. You can't just use what's in your brain to work out all of what life can throw at you. You know, 100%. Your brain has whatever you've picked up along the way. There's still loads of information out there that you don't know about, and which can help you prepare you in a different way for loads of different things which come in your direction. Definitely. So that's why even more so, I think you put it the right way. There's a better time, but in terms of the right time, never a right time. Life throws curveballs on purpose.
100%.
You know, life throws curveballs on purpose. And I think your cousin has a saying, pressure, it's a saying anyway, but pressure makes diamonds. And he says it all the time, you know, and it's just, it's true. Pressure does make diamonds. It forms this hard coating around you, which makes you resilient.
You need a bit of pushback in life sometimes. You know what I'm saying? As you said, like, life's not going to go the way you've planned it all the time or how you want it to be.
I think we should do a part 2 on this, you know. I think a part two, because there's some bits I think definitely we could talk about a few more bits on this. It's an endless topic, to be honest, to say there's a right time or not. But I think part 2 for this one definitely is going to come up for sure.
End of another episode. Subscribe, like, share, all of that good stuff, and we'll see you next time.
That's it, guys. Have a good one.